everybody. We're glad to welcome you back to our Fling.con channel. Today, we're going to be talking about some games. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the top 10 games checked out from our library. Now, obviously, these are the games that got a lot of traction for us during the convention. So we think they tend to be the games that interest most people. And as such, we wanted to tell you a little bit about them, just in case you haven't added them to your library yet. Joining me tonight is Adam and David and John. We're glad to have you guys with us. So before we get going, give me, let's give you two sentences. How was the last convention in two sentences?
Starting with me. It was very busy. It was a lot of folks there having a great time. And I don't know. It was just a great experience.
All right. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, great experience. A lot of growth, which has been great. And a lot of good vendors and just people in general.
Hey, John, what about you? What did you think of the last one?
I agree with the real busy sentiment, and I just enjoyed talking to all of our attendees.
Yeah. Now, we don't want to make this all about the con because this channel is really more about games than the con, though we will talk a little bit about both. We do want to let everybody know the next con coming up in summer will not be at the Shirt Civic Center. We're moving to the Shrine Auditorium. We'll have more information on that as days get closer. Please check out our socials. Facebook, YouTube, X, and others are coming, and we will be putting out more information about the event, the venue, and all of the timing and everything else. So, with that, we have our top 10 games, and we're going to do them in reverse order. We're going to count down from 10 to 1, and we're going to take just a little time talking about each game and telling you if you have questions, please email us, flingcon at I believe it's bgg.com. Is that the right one, guys?
No, it's BGC. That's short for Board Game Convention.
Yeah.
BGC.
At flingcon.com.
There it is. BGC at flingcon.com. You can tell how often I type emails as opposed to using them out of my address book. So, and you can ask any one of these fine gentlemen questions. Just send it to that one. Let us know which of the staff members you are addressing and what your question is, and we'll be glad to get it to them so they can help you, advance your library and put more stuff on your shelf. So, with that, we're going to start with the number 10 game that was checked out. It was a game called Mistborn. Are you guys familiar with that game?
I am.
Oh, look at this. Adam's got it. So, Adam, you're obviously familiar with it. What's your thought?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for John, but this is one of my favorite games that came out last year. It's a real nice, clean deck building game. If you're not familiar with deck building, everybody starts with the same or very similar, at least in this case, set of cards that make up your deck. Over time, you build up that deck. This particular game is based on an IP from Brandon Sanderson. It's a book series. Great book series for those that haven't checked it out. You're taking on one of the roles of the main characters there, and you're battling against each other. Or this game also has a cooperative mode where you can play together, fight against the evil Lord Ruler, who's represented in the game as an AI deck. It's got a couple of unique mechanisms in it from other deck builders, which I think make it pretty fun. But I want to hear what other people have to say about this one.
What about you, John? What do you think?
I agree with what Adam said. It's a very solid, very mechanically solid, clean deck building game. I do think that it could use an expansion to just kind of put it over the top, but it's definitely worth getting. I definitely expect good things for that game.
Dave, is this one of the ones that you've played before?
I'm not as familiar with it as they are. I've seen it played. I think John did some demos on it during the con.
Yes,
And
I
I got
did.
to, yeah, and I got to watch it, see a little bit of it, but I didn't have a chance to play it. But it looked really good.
So, our number 9 game is one called, and you guys are going to have to correct me if I mispronounce this, Machi Koro,
That's
Bright
correct.
Lights, Big City. Uh,
Yes.
are you going to pull that one around on me, Adam? Is that up next off your shelf?
I do have it. I'm not sure where it is, but so we could just talk about it. If you've ever played Space Base, Wes,
Hmm.
then this is just like that.
Okay.
It's your turn. You roll the dice, and you got a tableau of cards in front of you. Whatever dice you rolled, you look at the numbers that match up with what you have in your tableau, and you get to activate those cards. When it's somebody else's turn, you may get to do some other things as well. This is an older game, so I'm
Hmm.
thinking this might be an indication of some folks checking this one out repeatedly just because they liked it. But I don't know, maybe it just had a surge in popularity.
Well, and sometimes those older games can be a lot of fun when they come back because there'll be a game that maybe younger people haven't heard of or it didn't get popular in a certain region. So there's lots of reasons why it might have caught. But what about you, John, Dave? Either of you played this game before?
Dave,
I've
go
played,
ahead.
yeah, I have played Machikoro before, and like you said, it's one of those games where luckily you don't have to sit around and wait for somebody else because you get to do stuff on their turn. So it keeps people active. It keeps you going, which is what I like about those kind of games, such as Space Base, like you mentioned before.
Yeah. Well, that's like me in Puerto Rico. Every time somebody picks a role, everyone gets, to go.
Right.
So I always found that to be a very fun mechanic. What about you, John?
Machikoro for me is, I feel like, a very good gateway game for
Hmm.
gamers that are
Definitely.
not into real heavy Euro games. It's the task is very simple, but it gives you a lot of choices. Because you choose whether you're activating, what buildings you're activating and stuff like that based off of the dice rolls, of course. I mean, you can't just activate any building, but and it kind of masks itself as having a lot of choices in a game, and it lets you feel like you're really doing something.
So if you had to rate this game, I kind of heard what you were saying about it. If you had to rate this game as far as being a game that somebody like a newer game or someone new to the hobby could kind of pick up and roll with, how do you feel about that?
Oh, definitely. I would definitely recommend it if they're new into like the strategic board games and uh, things of that nature. I would also recommend it to somebody that likes chance games because of the dice rolling that's in it.
Hmm.
It's sometimes a little chaotic. Not getting not getting the die roll that you wanted to activate the building you wanted, but sometimes that's how the dice roll.
Well, an element of chance is fun, but there are some who like, that when their strategy is what pays off. So I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can see it both ways. I tend to be good either way. I just like as long as the game mechanics are solid, which it sounds like they are. So coming in at number 8, we have a game called Flock Together. Now, before Adam pulls that off his shelf and shows it to us, uh, we're this is one I have to tell you, I haven't even heard this name before. So most of the ones I've at least heard of, I've just not played them. So what is this one? It sounds like what, a flock of birds?
Chickens. So yeah, pretty dang close.
So
Chicken.
Flock Together, we is a cooperative game. We are all chickens in a chicken coop, and we are defending our chicken coop against a invading. I don't want to say monster because it's essentially like
Just predators.
a animal that's higher on the food chain. And so you have to go out and you have to fight this animal with dice rolling. You collect goods. You bring the goods back to the chicken coop, and you. There's also a leveling up mechanic in it. Um, I have played this game one time, and I honestly we won, but I think we kind of cheated.
Well, I mean, if
Uh,
you want to win, that's one way to do it.
we didn't cheat consciously. We didn't know we were cheating till the end, and so it is what it is at that point.
Yeah.
Either of the other two of you, Adam, Dave, anything to say about this one?
As far as it goes for me, I mean, again, this is one of those that I just not get a chance to play, but I got to see it on the table. It's beautiful artwork. But like you
Yes.
said, it's just chickens. You're chickens, and you're trying to protect your coop against predators. But it looked interesting.
I wish my chickens would protect themselves. I got to have two dogs and go out there and chase things off. Man. Maybe I need the creators of this game to come and train mine.
There you go.
What about you, Adam?
I haven't had a chance to play it. Like the others said, I mean, it has a really nice look to it. Chickens are not the most interesting of creatures when you look at it. They did a great job, I think, in making it look very appealing on the table.
Okay. Well, next up we have at number 7, Dice Throne Marvel. So that's not dice thrown like a chair made of dice. That's
It,
dice thrown as in throwing the dice. Dice
Who
thrown
would spell it like
Marvel.
that? I don't
Hey,
I
you
don't
know what?
know.
When they said it out loud, I thought it was like a dice thrown, like a king on a
Yeah, that
throne.
you
And then
would
I
Technically,
read
feed
this and
on.
I'm like, wait a minute,
it
that's not
actually
the
It,
same
is.
thing.
It
yeah.
actually is. Yeah.
Who did
So some Yahoo
Oh
who
wait, it
typed up
is
the.
dice thrown
It's
like a
right.
yes,
king's chair.
Yes, some Yahoo who typed up the list doesn't know how to spell.
Oh, well,
I won't
okay.
mention any names, David.
Okay. So now that we know that it is dice thrown, like the king of dice, I'm guessing Marvel is the subtype.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
So there are multiple dice thrown games.
Hmm.
they had a couple of different ones that came out originally that just had some sort of generic fantasy characters. They came out with another expansion that allowed you to turn it into the original game, and the Marvel versions exist in this sort of primarily a 1v1 battle. That's the system really is kind of based on Yahtzee. Each character is unique. They have a unique set of abilities. You roll your dice, and after you've rolled a couple of times, you sort of pick off your play mat which ability you want to activate. Um, Very asymmetric. Bringing in the Marvel was just kind of a nice little bonus on there to give some character recognition rather than sort of your generic fantasy character types. They did just recently bring out a new expansion, which is
Hmm.
X-Men.
Yes.
Haven't had a chance to play that one yet, but
Excited for that one.
yeah, me too. But yeah, it's a lightweight game. It does have some deeper strategy than some of the other lighter games that we just mentioned a minute ago. But the asymmetry of it, I think, is what makes it appealing to a lot of people.
Oh
Well, that
yeah.
sounds like a lot of fun. What about the other two of you? Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah,
Go
Dice
ahead,
Stone's
David.
been yeah, Dice Stone's been one of those that, like I said, when I lived in Texas and I would go visit a friend of mine, we're waiting for other players to show up, we'd pull out Dice Stone because it's a quick game. It doesn't take very long, and you have so many options as far as the characters. And each character, I mean, they've got what, like 8 characters in season one, 8 in season two, and I don't know how many Marvel they have, but each character has a different way of playing.
It's
Has a
about the same in the
Is
Marvel
it the
set.
same in
And
Marvel?
then you
Okay.
also have Santa and Krampus.
Yes, I like that one too. I actually played that one a few times. I like that one. But
Hmm.
yeah, so it's a great, quick, easy game to get to the table. But like Adam said, it's easy game, but there are some deep strategies
Hmm.
on how you play it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try to keep us moving because I know that I'm definitely a talker and we can keep going on stuff. So, moving on to number 6, Castles Combo. So, which one of you three is going to pull this off your shelf now?
I actually don't have Castle Combat. I didn't know. I didn't come prepared like Adam did. So
I don't own it either. Actually, I've played it a few times. I think Dave
yeah.
too, right?
Well, it's easy to
Actually,
be prepared when your game shelf takes up an entire wall in your
yeah.
house.
So Joe actually demoed Castle Combo at the last Fling.con, and we were able to play it prior to the last convention. And basically, what you're doing in Castle Combo is you're drafting cards into your own personal tableau, and you'll have a 3x3 row of cards at the end of the game, and each card scores a certain way based off of like what card is next to it, or what card is below it, or what card is diagonal to it, and then you have to pay a certain amount of money for the cards, or instead of drafting a card, you can just take money.
Hmm.
Is essentially what goes on in that game. And what I think is so great about that game is that it's another good gateway game that lets you feel like you have choices. It lets you feel like you're doing something, as opposed to just, like rolling dice and, moving the way the game tells you to move. This is something that you can choose to do, and you either make good choices or you make bad choices with the cards that you draft. So
Yeah, it
I
Yeah.
like
sounds.
the. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
No, I say it sounds like Everdale, where you're drafting the tableau and you're drafting those cards and paying for them, and then you're scoring them based upon where they are in location to your
it's not as
tableau.
complicated as
No.
Everdale, but
Yeah.
yes.
Plays very fast. Essentially, you're as John said, you got 3 by 3, so you're drafting 9 total cards, and once you've done that, that's the end of the game. So it really plays fast, and there is some decent strategy to it. In terms of like where you place the cards. I mean, you have to once you place the card down, it's locked and so then you have to make sure you're building toward whatever strategy you're attempting to achieve there. But I think it's fun. It's fast and it's easy to teach.
Well, I'm trying to picture this in my head. So, for those of you who are interested, if you want to kind of go back through this list, I'll try to repeat it at the end. So, grab a pen and paper. You can go to bgg.com, and all of these games are on there. It'll tell you how long it takes, how many players, how many pieces, what levels, and all this other information. So, that's all available for you. And we'll talk about that kind of in videos where we highlight individual games. But for now, as we go over this list, this is something that you can um, go there and look up these games individual. So coming in at number 5, we're sinking.
No.
We better start bailing the water out of the out of
Mhm.
the podcast.
Yeah.
But what's the deal with that one, guys?
I'll go ahead and start. So essentially, what we're thinking is it's sort of a like social deduction game adjacent, because there aren't really like trader roles and like people that are true to the crew. Um, and so there are two ways to win this game. Um, the boat is either going to sink or it's going to sail off. And if the boat sinks, I think it's whoever has the most treasure when it sinks. I could be wrong about that. And then if the boat sails off, it's whoever has the least amount of treasure.
Hmm.
Or it could be in reverse. It's one of the two. Um, and so you're kind of having a fine balance of taking actions based off of what you're trying to do in that game. Are you trying to sink the boat? Or are you trying to make the boat survive?
Yeah,
That's
so
that sounds like it could come into some oppositional play there.
Yes.
yeah, and just to clarify what John was saying, if it does sail off and you have the largest treasure score, you win.
Oh,
But
okay.
if it
That's what it is.
sinks, then you win if you have the fewest cards in your hand.
Gotcha.
What about you, Adam? You ever played that one?
I haven't played it, but this is another one that has a really great table presence. It comes with this nice chunky toy plastic ship that looks really cool.
And you remove pieces from it as it
Yeah,
sinks.
yeah.
So
It
it's
looks kind of cool.
yeah, it reminds me of another game that I like, very different type of game called Lowlands, where there's this tension of, do you want to, do you want to try to get the most treasure at the risk of the boat sinking, or do you want to, because the other people, if they realize they're not going to be getting treasure, then they're probably going to try to help the boat sink, right? So, it's a nice little tension there and strategy and maybe as John said, social deduction adjacent because you're sort of trying to game the system in your favor.
Well, there is a place you can come and play social deduction games twice a year with a big group of people, but this isn't about our con. This is about
Right.
Nah.
I will say that this is one of the games on this list that people who've played it really enjoyed it to the point where they bought it immediately after playing it at the con.
They did. I got invited to play this game 3 times at the convention, and every time I passed by them, they were having so much
Yeah.
fun.
There is only one game so far that has gotten me to that point, and that was Thunder Road Vendetta, which I still
Mm.
can't believe it didn't make this list. I'm still just in shock about that. But hey, you know what? Strange things happen sometimes.
Yep.
That game is in our library for those who are wondering.
Yes.
If you come, you can check it out. So next time it better be on this list, people. Come on, work with me.
My theory is, they just had a new expansion that shipped from Kickstarter, so I think that a lot of people actually had it in their own personal collections, so they didn't need to check ours out. But because I did see
Yeah.
quite a few people playing it actually this at the con.
All right, I'm
Mhm.
gonna take that. I'm gonna take that.
All right.
That makes sense. I want that to be the case. All right. So next up, at number 4, we're gonna find a game called Wandering Towers.
Wandering
Guys,
Towers.
do the towers in this game literally stand up and start wandering away? And if so, do you got to wind them up like before you start playing the game? Like how does this work?
There's no winding up, but
No,
there
no
is
winding
wandering
up.
towers.
That's right. This game was actually the 2024 Gateway Game of the Year.
Mm, I did
It's
not know that.
actually, and it's actually one of my wife's very favorite games that she plays. Anytime I say you want to play games, she's like, yeah, go get Wandering Towers.
Hmm.
But yeah, they wander. I mean, you are wandering. These towers are wandering. It's a simple game, real easy. Again, why it's a gateway game. You have two things you have to do. You've got to get your wizards into Ravencroft Tower, and you've got to get your potion bottles filled. You fill your potion bottles by covering wizards with any wizard with another tower, and then you get your, and it's all based upon movement. You got cards you'll draw. Each card has one of two. Oh, so you either have a tower movement, a wizard movement, or one or the
Oh,
other on a card. And then
Okay.
you get to choose which one. You get to play two of the three cards in your hand, and you get to choose which side you use. If it has both, you can use a tower movement or the wizard movement.
Boy,
So yeah,
I wonder how big your faith has to be to say to a tower, get up and move. Not quite as big as a mountain, but sorry, that was a little religious humor there for people who get the joke. Um, all right, next up at number 3, we have a game called Hard Rock 1977. Okay, are we
again,
talking hard rock? Like
It's another
no, we're talking Rock Hard,
yeah.
rock
Keep in mind
hard.
1977.
the same Yahoo who screwed up Dice Throne screwed up Rock Hard as well.
Oh,
David.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I mean I was getting into this. I'm like, are we gonna see like Van Halen and the beginnings of
It's,
No,
Kiss
but it
and
is
maybe some
designed by a rock star, a
it
former rock star.
is. But
so
yeah,
hard rock night or
Rock
rock
Hard.
hard
Rock Hard.
1977.
Yeah,
Okay, now with a name like that, I'm sorry, I can't even begin to guess what the game is about. So you guys are gonna have to fill me in here.
exactly what you were thinking. It's all about being an aspiring rock star. And that's what
Hmm.
you've got to balance your music career with your actual job so you can have money to fund your music career. And it's just a fun game. It's just a really fun immersive game.
Dave, I may have to fly you back to Texas to teach me this game. This sounds like way too much fun.
It's funny because it's a when we were playing it, I talked to people who were playing it, and they're like, "It's funny. We didn't even care if we won or lost. We were so immersed in making our rock career an actual thing that that's all we cared about. We didn't care about our score. We didn't care about how many points we're getting for what we did. We just cared about making living the rock star dream.
Oh, I that sounds like so much fun. It
Yeah,
really
it's
does. And I mean maybe that's just me, but I think that sounds like a blast. But I always, I maybe it's because I'm a bass player, so we never get the glory.
and you
That's
can
who the
have
designer is. The designer is the
mhm.
bass player for the Runaways.
Jennifer Fox. Is that right?
Jackie Fox.
Jackie Fox. Excuse me. I apologize. Jackie
Yeah,
Fox.
Jackie Fox.
Adam,
Yeah,
we all know you had your punk rocker days in high school. We can see you with that flaming red mohawk and
Yeah,
Oh, I could totally see that on Adam.
have you played this?
I haven't had a chance to play it. I did get a brief introduction to it from Dave at the con when he was demoing it. It's got really nice looking components. Everybody has a player board that looks like an amplifier. It's got the
Hmm.
dials at the top.
Oh,
You're playing a character that's sort of a representative of one of our great historical rock stars. There's that you can tell who they're trying
Yep.
to mimic there without causing any kind of trademark or copyright infringements. But
Yeah.
great looking game.
And you got to be
oh,
careful because you will be tempted and you could get addicted to candy.
Yes.
Candy.
So, yes,
You might have to go to candy rehab.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
so for those of you who don't know, Dave relocated out of Texas, and this is a huge problem for everyone because everyone wants Dave here. So jump down in the comment section and put "move back to Texas,
Back
Dave,"
to Dave.
so that we can begin the full pressure campaign because I want to play this game.
Or we could just move the con up to Utah. Either one. I mean,
Yeah, I think we get a little
there's a
grief from
better
our
chance
people
of
from
that
Austin
happening.
and Dallas who come down. I'm not sure they're going to want to drive all the way to
Well,
Utah.
you never know. For
All
this
right,
game, they would.
coming in at number two, we have Flamecraft.
Flamecraft. Yeah.
All right, guys. Someone is going to probably pull this off of their shelf and go, "Hey,
We could. It's
I do
sitting
have
right
it.
there. It's
Mine's
sitting
in the
right
box
there.
stack. I'm not. Yeah, mine's down here.
Yeah.
Flamecraft's a light game, but it's got some cool little mechanics to it. On your turn, you're really just kind of moving your dragon to one of the shops in town, and lets you play like little card dragons down on the shop,
ugh,
gain
you're
resources.
you're a dragon
Yes,
who owns a shop."
Yep.
kind of.
Well, yes.
And
You sort of kind of live in a city of dragons,
yeah,
Okay.
essentially, is what it is. And you're going around to the different shops. So there's like a bakery, uh, there's a I don't know this. There's an electronics store. There's this, there's that.
Yeah.
yeah,
And so you're going there, activating the shop essentially.
yeah.
So
You
you
play
got,
resources. You turn your resources in to get some point scoring things, and
yeah.
yeah. It's very straightforward. It's got great artwork, very very appealing. Gets a lot of attention from people when they see it on the table.
You
And
got,
Now,
dragon miniatures.
yeah. And you
Yeah,
got shops like Draco Bell and
yeah.
Critical Roles, things like that.
A lot of
It's
fun.
really cute.
Yep.
This is one of the games that we had in the raffle that people were just wanting, just praying that they won because
Yeah,
it's a fun game.
so
yeah.
you both own a copy. What could and I'm not going to ask you to be exact because none of us know. They drop, they go up, all kinds of stuff, supply and demand. But what could somebody give me a range that somebody could expect to buy this game for?
Depends. Do you want to buy the base game or the game with all the fancy components?
Let's just talk about the base game.
Base game, you're looking about $40 brand new.
Yeah.
That's
Amazon, I
going to be,
assume.
We had, yeah, but we were giving away the big fancy thing,
yes.
all of the bells and whistles, playmat, the fancy upgrades on the coins and the dragon meat
Hmm.
and everything else, which is really
Obviously, I did not pay you enough to rig the ticket so that my son would win. But it just goes to show you that our raffles aren't rigged because if they were, you know. But in all seriousness, that sounds like a lot of fun. These are stuff I'm gonna have to end up hauling Dave down here for a game day, and we're all gonna like have to come to my house and hang out and play a bunch of these just so I can know what they are.
This
Number
is this
one,
is real quick. This is another one that people would play at the con and will go and buy instantly as
yeah,
soon as they're done playing it.
I can imagine. So, number one, and before I reveal what game it is, I want to take a moment and just sincerely say a word of thanks to our penultimate supporter, our longtime partner, our good friend, Toby, and his shop, The Printed Meeple.
Yay,
Guys,
Toby.
it is no exaggeration for me to say that without Toby, this con wouldn't be anywhere even remotely close to what it is. So,
Not at all.
guys, if you haven't gone to the Printed Meeple and given Toby some love and just looked at all the games he's got, his membership options are so cool. He has those 3D printers working overtime, burning up to get you guys new board piece holders and figures for your game, replace little pieces that you might have lost, including the barrels for Puerto Rico that I always seem to somehow lose. You know, the dog cat or the dog swiped them off the table. We can't find them. But guys, please take some time, check out the printed meeple. If you can't get there in person, at least go there online. They are not just a wonderful family owned business, but they're a great supporter of ours, and they are largely responsible for the fun that you get to have twice a year. So shout out to Printed Meeple and Toby. Sorry, you guys, for taking that time, but I think they deserve it.
No,
Real,
that definitely needs to be
yeah,
said.
definitely.
Printed Maple's great.
And real quick before we go on to it, because of Toby, we have the number one game that was checked out from the library.
Yep.
Dave stealing my thunder.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I still love you, brother. I still
Well,
love
you
you.
still got some thunder coming because you didn't say the name.
That's right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So,
What could it be?
number one game,
Dun dun dun.
Finspan. So, for those of you who have heard of Wingspan, which has all the pretty birds flying around on it, yeah, I know you guys are loving my bird here. This time it's fish swimming around. And so, guys, I'm sorry. This is one of those games. I've seen it repeatedly, Wingspan, Finspan, and it just for whatever reason has never called out to me. So please convince me that I want to try this, and please enlighten me as to why this game of all games ended up being number one. Is it just because it's new?
I think that's part of it. Wingspan is a very beloved game, and Finspan is, a follow up to that game. And, the thing about all the games within that Wingspan category is they're all just mechanically solid games. And they're very easy to teach with high levels of strategy to win. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously it benefited a lot because we managed to get this via Toby and the printed meeple as a copy that was an advanced copy. It was, before it had shipped out to buyers. I think the advantage that Finspan has over Wingspan and Wormspan is that it's streamlined down a little bit the rule set, so it's a little easier entry point. Not that Wingspan and Wormspan are particularly difficult games, but this one it takes away some of the intricacies of the food acquisition mechanic that you had to have in Wingspan and the cave building system that you had to have in Wormspan, and allows you to have a little bit more freedom about where you're placing your fish. Overall, I mean, it's just like the other two games. It's got beautiful artwork on the cards, solid design from Stonemaier Games, and probably going to get a lot of love like the other two elements in the series have.
I think to elaborate on what Adam said, it focuses on the core of what Wingspan and Wormspan is, which is playing the cards, activating the cards, getting things from the cards. And not that the feeding mechanic is like fluff in Wingspan, because it's not. But it takes that away, and it just has you discarding the eggs and discarding cards, essentially.
And it's from what I understand, this is more icon driven than text driven. A lot of the most of the cards on in Wingspan and Wormspan are all you got to read the text to know, but in these particular cards, correct me if I'm wrong, it's all a lot of it's based on icons. As long as you know what those icons are, and from what I understand, it's pretty easy to learn.
I think the majority of it is icons. There still is a little bit of
Is
text
there
that
some
you have
text
to
still?
pay attention to, but definitely not as much as what's in Wingspan.
Yeah. And I will
Right.
tell you that Finspan is probably the lightest of the three, Wormspan being the heaviest of the three, and then Wingspan right in between.
Mm-hmm. If it, honestly, if I had to rate them, I would think that Wingspan would be number one, followed by
Hmm.
Finspan, and then followed by Wormspan. I wasn't a real big fan of Wormspan, but I think it's a good game.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be anti-dragon.
No, honestly, like Jamie Stegmaier over at Stonemaier Games, man, he always knocks it out of the park with component quality, with artwork, with rule books. And I mean, his rule books are always really easy to read and understand. I never have problems playing his games from reading the rules.
That's awesome. That's
I
awesome.
would agree.
Well, guys, we hope you've enjoyed this top 10 list. We hope it encourages you to check these games out, maybe add them to your list. Just to go over that list again for you. The number 10 is Mistborn. Number 9, Machikoro, Bright Lights Big City. Number 8, Flock Together. Number 7, Dice Throne, the Marvel version. Number 6, Castles Combo. Number 5, We're Sinking. Number 4, Wandering Towers. Number 3, Rock Hard 1977. Number 2, Flamecraft. And number 1, Finspan. So, as always, you can go to BGG, that's Bravo Golf Golf.com, and you can check out these games by using their search feature and get the details on them. Most of these are available on Amazon, but as always, we encourage you to shop at your local game store because they're the ones who most often will support conventions like us. And if you're in the Bear County area, best to stop by the Printed Meeple and grab your stuff there. Folks, on behalf of Fling.con, we're going to bid you adieu, and we will look forward to catching up with you next time.
All right.